since 2008. See, Papa, I have it here. See, I'm
So do
gonna
you want
have
to
my
go
shirt
in
here.
English?
Yeah,
You want
let's
to go
go
in
in
English or
English.
you want to go in Spanish?
Yeah, no, English, no problem.
Okay.
Because some of my students, they're
Okay.
gonna watch this later, and then a bunch of people.
All right. Good. 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 So we're gonna do this for since it's my IG. A lot of my friends are on it, of course, and a lot of your friends are on it, and
Mm-hmm.
your students at Kaiser. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you, for my friends that don't know Stefan,
Mm-hmm.
Stefan is Dr. Stefan Diaz, and he's a professor for Kaiser University, and he is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He, in my opinion, has been one of the most influential, if not the most influential strength and conditioning coach for American Top Team, and he did that for about 10 years. And so American Top Team owes a debt of gratitude to all of the great work that Stefan did with some of their top fighters and helped that team become what it is today. And now Everton is there,
Mm-hmm.
kind of your protege, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yes.
doing a great
Mm-hmm.
job. And so they continue to be a powerhouse with some of the best athletes in the world. So it's a pleasure. Oh, when Stefan came from Brazil, he was doing his PhD in Russia, of all places, because Stefan speaks English, Portuguese, and Russian. He did his
Yes.
PhD in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Old school, real shit. Not this bullshit,
Yeah.
online bullshit from some island, okay? No, the real
Uh-huh.
deal. And he
Mm-hmm.
defended his dissertation in Russian, all right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I signed for his visa. So I became
Mm-hmm.
responsible for this delinquent here and risked my
Yeah.
reputation for him. No, I knew that he was special. I knew he was real. He's a real man of integrity. Great, any way I could at that time, and I will continue to do that for years to come. So, welcome, my brother,
Yes.
and great to
Yeah,
be with
very
you again.
nice, nice. So yeah, just so people to know, I'm originally from Brazil. I did sports all my life. I did Muay Thai with Master Noguchi that trained Anderson Silva for more than 7 years. We met to Master Catel, that's the head striking coach of ATT, my friend. Macarrão, I had the chance to help them get here to America in American Top Team. So I did my bachelor's 4 years in exercise science in Brazil, FPR, big state university. Then I went to Russia first for my master's. So I did my master's and my PhD there. So I had like a long story in Russia, good experience. And I had a chance to publish 5 books in Brazil, one in Russian with my professor, and then now one's coming to US. So so that's kind of like a little bit of our story. And then I met Santana through Hermes Franca. Back on the day, he was number 2 in the world in UFC. I was in charge of his strength and conditioning. He brought me to JC, and then JC didn't know, help with my paperwork. So it was like a very good help, very good push that made me stay here until today. So I'm very glad. That's why I always hear HP, you see, I keep this forever. So Rio, all the guys, and then one of the best places that I have been and had the opportunity to train. So I'm pleasure. I'm very happy to be here, JC.
Oh man, congratulations on your book.
Uh,
Hopefully, I will be on that forward. If Human Fanatics
yes.
asks me to do that forward, I've already volunteered. It'll be my
Mm-hmm.
pleasure to write that forward for your book. Well deserved.
Yes.
Lots of congratulations. So let's get going on some questions. All right.
Yes. First
My
question. Wait,
question
wait,
for
wait,
you.
wait.
Go.
Okay. Okay. Because I had a plan to talk, but if you want to throw a question first, just
No.
shoot.
Then go ahead. I just didn't want to waste anybody's time. But if you got a plan, let's go. Talk
Yeah.
to me.
All right. I
Dale.
have a little plan. Very good. Just to say hi, Coach Macarrão over there. Ailton Barbosa, they're there saying hi over there. Macarrão was in the UFC about Saturday with Alexei Olinik, this
Yeah.
Russian giant. He beat Verdun, so Macarrão's there. Congratulations. So our friends over there. So what I wanted to talk today, JC, it's a nice topic about a little bit about periodization. Okay, so I know you had a bunch of questions, so we can answer questions for the people later. Or Master Catel Cubis, we just talk about you there. The people are coming. So periodization is very important because I had the chance to be under the guidance of Lev Pavlovich Matviev, so the guy that kind of like the pioneer in the periodization in the world. And then a little bit of when we talk about periodization, there's a misconception. So people sometimes they don't really understand what Matviev wrote, because first, of course, was in Russian, then was translated. And every time you have a translation, you know that you need to do some adjustments. So you have books in Spanish and English, so you know, in Portuguese in Brazil. So you know, every time you have a translation, there is something that's not really there.
Problems.
And then if you don't have the ability to go there yourself and then teach, and explain, people don't understand, correct? You work for 3 days and they had mentality already, and then back on the days when the for and then he'll do a couple sets. The next day he'll come to practice, and the guy will do maybe like 38 meters, and then a little bit less, and then they say, wait, something's happened. And then the following day, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then he'll be like 35. And then he started reducing. And then he's like, okay, let me give this guy a break. And then he'll give the guy a break. And then he'll go back and then shoot for like 42 meters. And then he started analyzing and writing it down. So my view was like very like in detail and everything. And then he started writing it down and say, wait, so we need to kind of like understand this whole process, not just like a machine, because when you see, especially now with all the situation, people going online, and then they just want to, do 3 sets of 8 repetitions, and then you're good to go, 3 sets of 10. So no, Matveev say, wait, it's not that simple. So we need to kind of like to create stimulus in the body, and then let the time for the body to adapt. And then depending on the stimulus, is going to be more time or less time. And then we're going to create those reactions. So Matviev actually is one of the fathers of the periodization. Then came Bompa. Bompa learned everything from the Russian countries, and then he was the pioneer to publish in English. So that's why people recognize to do Bompa. And then, but there's a little bit of a misconception in the ideas of Matviev. Why? Because when they talk about, and then Matviev also related a lot to the general adaptation syndrome. Why? Because when you come to practice, so let's say somebody come to the gym, they have, let's say, imagine a car. I put this as an example to make it easy. Imagine your car with the full tank. So when you come to practice, if you had a breakfast, if you have a good night of sleep, you come with the full tank. As soon as you start working out, your gas started to go down. So your energy is like a glycogen, and then you start having like a little bit of fatigue in the neurological central nervous system, not be able to contract as intense as you could in the beginning. And then that started to go down. So when that happened, if you're smart, you don't go all the time. So there's times that we're going to talk later. There's times that you really push the athlete. Sometimes you don't push the athlete to the maximum fatigue or exhaustion. Why? Because we need to think about the recovery. So then this is going to create a depletion. When this athlete finishes the workout, he's going to start having, let's say, liquids and protein and carbs, and going to start replenish. And then he's going to not only go to a recovery, what the tank that he had, but our body's so smart and so intelligent the way we're made, that we're going to go into a super compensation phase. So when you get to that super compensation phase, that will last maybe like a day or two, that's the good day for you to plan the second hard workout. And then what happens? If you plan in that time, the second depletion is not going to be as deep as the first depletion. And then you can progress. So that's what the whole idea of Matviev. When the misconception is, when they translated all this material, they look in kind of like in the large scheme, and even like this is partial because of the way maybe like Bompa introduced the idea of he put because I understand a little bit, because you selling a book, so it's hard for you to explain all those little details. So you kind of give a template, right, JC, to the people. So, and then he put like, okay, let's say you start with 12 repetition, and then you go like your intensity is gonna be, let's say, 60% or 50%, and then you increase the intensity, starting decreasing the volume, the number of repetitions. And then people, when they look that in a large scheme, they thought, oh, this is lean.
I got you, bro.
Okay. Just make sure. So,
You're
so
coming
we,
in and out though. You're like that.
but the sound is coming or no?
You're coming in and out, in and out.
In and out. So
Yeah,
once
it's the signal.
it's getting delay.
Sometimes, yeah, it's kind of interrupted. Yeah, loading.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Okay, better. The
Yes.
voice. And when they analyze those lines, they call this linear periodization. But in the reality, the problem and the misconception here, it's they don't talk about the fluctuations. And Matviev talk a lot about that, because in the week, when you steady state, oh, you need to do 3 sets of 12 repetitions for this exercise, and then you're going to repeat this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. No, he has fluctuations when he designed. But then people here didn't understand that part, and then they just say, oh, so you got to be stable. That's why now they come with daily undulating periodization, or they come with even the flex undulating periodization. So I just pulled like a new article like a year ago, and then they compares to the traditional model of Matveev and the daily undulating and even the flex undulating periodization, and they come up almost with the same results. So see, so people sometimes they talk, oh, this is old school. Yes, so old school, but give you like ideas to plan for, and then in order for you to achieve peak performance by the time of the competition. So he never said that you could not achieve in different ways, but that he made the design before
Sport, 2 lifts, done. Simple. Or track and field. And
yes.
usually you were a sprinter, you were a jumper, maybe, and maybe you threw the discus and maybe the hammer. Maybe. But normally it was a single event, bang and bang and bang and bang. That's easy to plan. But when you're dealing with an MMA fighter who's dealing with, depending on the school, wrestling, jiu-jitsu maybe, and sometimes it's in a different school. Then you have sparring. Then you have kickboxing, like Cattell. You're working with Cattell. Sometimes you're working with Daya, just pure boxing. Then sometimes you're working with a wrestler. Sometimes you're working on your jits, and then you're working on your MMA, and then on your sparring days. Some of these guys have 3 practices a day. So how do you deal with the mentality and not only the events? You got to deal with coaches' egos too. And some coaches just believe in tearing up the athlete. If the athletes are not growing up, they ain't doing work. Okay? And you and I are about, you come in fresh, you do quality work, and you should never throw up. And you should leave not super fresh, but you leave with some energy, because you
Yes.
need energy to recover, which is what people don't understand. Especially in MMA combat, ego, no pain, no gain. I'm a warrior, And they don't understand that recovery is sometimes more important than the training.
Yes.
Because a recovered fighter can do miracles. An overtrained fighter cannot.
No,
So
no,
how
no.
do you
You're
deal?
perfect. Yes. So
How do you
one
deal with that?
way, and then okay. So the one way is in your book, and then is in my new book. That surfing the wave. When you talk about the periodization, that was I think originally proposed by Dr. Signorelli, right, from University of Miami. And then you start in the middle, so that's a very good point. So we try to use kind of more like a block scheme periodization. And then when you have, let's say, if you have a force velocity curve, so you start it between the middle of the curve. That's kind of like how we used to train guys at IHP. And then we did a lot of success that way. Why? Because then when you start that way in the middle of the curve, you have kind of like about moderate intensity with moderate speed. So you started off kind of like what Bompa would call an anatomical adaptation. And then from that point, we go, there's 2 options here. Most of the guys from ATT, for example, and then the majority of the MMA fighters right now, they drop weight categories. So there's no much room for hypertrophy. So sometimes we skip the hypertrophy phase. If you have somebody can put extra, let's say, mesocycle or 4 weeks of hypertrophy. But if no, traditional training, then you go straight to maximum strength. So it will be the top of the wave. And then you start going down the wave, and then you go for power after strength, and then you go to power endurance. That's our circuit MMA, like the way we did for years. So then we combine elements of the actual activity. For example, punching bags, heavy bag, pads. Remember all the pad work with those coaches, Catel, Macarrão, Fefe, all those coaches holding pads, plus the strength and conditioning side. So that's kind of like a job that most likely is hard because, like you said, there's so many coaches involved, so many training. And then we kind of like that have the knowledge, that have the education, need to feel the athlete when they come. So even if we have a plan, we change our plan. So most of the time we need to change our plan and then say, okay, I wanted to do 4 sets, but this guy just did like 2 hours of Muay Thai and then throw like 500 kicks. So now I'm going to do 2 sets. So I'm going to cut my volume. I still have quality, like you said, but we need to reduce the volume because the guy is not fresh like I expected him to be. So that's kind of like.
How do you, okay, so let's say that you're in a strength phase and you just, I'm not talking about, 150 kilo deadlifts, but you want to get a little bit stronger in case you're up against the cage and you got to do a pickup, whatever, and you're going through a strength phase and they're beating the shit out of your guys and they're handing you like a bag of bones, okay? Shit out of your guys and they're handing you like a bag of bones, okay? One way's like you said. Well, if we had 4 sets in mind today, and the guy. One way's like you said. Well, if we had 4 sets in mind today, and the guy.